Most men spend their lives chasing something they can never fully grasp: love, validation, a sense of purpose through women. But have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why does it almost always end in confusion, heartbreak, or regret? You give your time, your energy, even your identity, only to be ghosted, betrayed, or slowly worn down into someone you no longer recognize. This isn't bad luck. It's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. And nearly 200 years ago, a man named Arthur Schopenhauer saw it clearly. While others wrote love poems and fairy tales, Schopenhauer dissected love like a surgeon, cold, precise, and brutally honest. He exposed a truth that still makes people uncomfortable today. A truth so raw, so taboo, that most men still refuse to accept it. But if you have the courage to face it, to really see what's been hidden from you, you might finally understand why things never worked out the way you were told they would. So here's your warning. This isn't romance. This isn't self-help fluff. This is the missing key. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. When people talk about love, they use words like soulmate, destiny, or meant to be. But Schopenhauer didn't buy any of that. To him, love wasn't a magical connection between two souls. It was a trick, a biological scam played by nature to ensure one thing: reproduction. Think about it. That surge of electricity when you meet someone new, the obsessive thoughts, the butterflies, the certainty that she's the one. You're not connecting with her spirit. Your brain is doing math, calculating fertility, genetic compatibility, and the potential survival of your offspring. And her brain, it's doing the same, just with a different algorithm. While you're drawn to youth, beauty, and sexual cues, she's scanning for strength, dominance, status, signals of protection and provision. Schopenhauer once wrote, "Love is the ultimate goal of almost all human effort." But he didn't mean that in a poetic way. He meant it's the bait, the shiny object dangled in front of you by biology. Once the mission is complete and the body gets what it needs, love often fades like a dream you can't quite remember. That forever feeling? It's a chemical spike, a hormone rush, designed to be temporary. Men throw away careers, friends, even sanity, try and keep it alive. But here's the hard truth. It was never meant to last. Love is a fairy tale. It's a contract written in invisible ink. And once it's fulfilled, nature moves on, whether you want or not. Here's something you were never told growing up. Women don't choose men based on fairness. They don't reward loyalty, effort, or kindness the way you think they do. They choose based on instinct. And instinct doesn't care about your intentions. It cares about one thing: survival advantage, status, security, genetic superiority. This is nature's programming, not opinion, reality. Look at the data. On dating apps, over 80% of women compete for the top 10 to 20% of men. What does that tell you? It tells you attraction isn't about what's fair. It's about biology. It's a ruthless filtering system. And most men don't make the cut. This isn't new. History is full of kings who conquered nations, not for land, but for women. Men have fought wars, started empires, and destroyed themselves over female validation. The pattern never changes, because the biology never changed. The man who understands this stops playing a losing game. He stops trying to appeal to reason. Because women aren't choosing based on reason. They're choosing based on emotional instinct hardwired by thousands of years of evolution. Is she safe with you? Can you provide? Do you elevate her social status? Do your genes give her children a better chance of survival? If the answer is no, your devotion won't save you. You could be the most loyal man alive and still be invisible to her. This isn't misogyny. It's an observation. So when a woman overlooks the kind, loyal guy in favor of the high-status man who barely notices her, it's not cruelty. It's programming. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep getting blindsided. Most men grow up believing a lie that says, if you're nice enough, if you give enough, if you prove how deeply you care, she'll finally love you. But here's the painful truth. Nice doesn't win desire. Certainty doesn't create attraction. Schopenhauer said it bluntly. To be loved, one must not be just but clever. Translation: love isn't earned through goodness. It's earned through value. And not the kind of value you scream with gifts and texts and endless check-ins, but the kind you radiate when you don't need her to choose you. Here's where the nice guy dies. The moment he tries to secure her love by sacrificing himself, he makes her the center of his world. He cancels plans. He overcommits. He becomes dependable to a fault. And slowly, she loses interest, because the biological truth is this. Women are drawn to challenge, not comfort. They're wired to chase value, not compliance. The moment she has you, fully and predictably, the excitement dies. The game is over, and she moves on, often without fully understanding why. Schopenhauer called this the tragedy of possession. The desire fades once the goal is reached. It's not that women want to hurt you. It's that instinct that moves them toward what's elusive, not what's easy. The nice guy is easy, too available, too invested, too desperate. And desperation, no matter how kind it appears, kills attraction. You want love? Don't chase it. Command it. Be the man she wants to earn, not the one begging to be chosen. Because in the laws of attraction, the one who needs less wins more. Now here's where most men go wrong. They get bitter. They blame women. But the truth is, women aren't the enemy. They're not wrong for being selective. They're not evil for wanting the best man they can get. They're just doing what nature designed them to do. And once you understand that, something powerful happens. You stop taking it personally. This isn't about hate. It's about clarity. In the game of love, women are the selectors. They're the gatekeepers of reproduction. And men, we're the competitors. We have to earn value, build status, prove our worth. That's not unfair, it's nature. And nature doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about survival. So when a woman rejects you, tests you, and loses interest after you show your soft side, it's not because she's cruel. It's because your behavior signals low value to her instincts. And those instincts don't care how many poems you wrote, how much you love her, or how many times you've been hurt. They only care about this. Can this man protect, provide, and lead? That's it. So stop asking for the rules to be fair. They're not. But once you understand the rules, you can finally stop fighting the system and start playing it smart. We live in a time where physical strength means less than ever, but emotional power, it's at an all-time high. And women, whether they know it or not, have mastered this power through generations of evolution. Today, it's amplified through social media, Instagram, TikTok, dating apps. These platforms have turned attention into currency, and the average man is the unpaid worker. He scrolls, he likes, he comments, he validates, all in the hope of getting noticed. But here's the brutal reality. That attention is rarely returned, because in this new economy, women are the product and men are the consumers. But it goes deeper than just likes and followers. In relationships, women still hold the invisible upper hand, not through force, through emotional influence. While men use logic and directness, women have evolved to read the room, to test boundaries, to control dynamics without ever raising their voice. And here's the kicker. Most men don't even realize it's happening. Ever heard of a compliance test? She asks if you're free tonight, then watches how fast you drop your plans. Fail. The frame test? She gets emotional to see if you fold or stay grounded. Fail again. the investment test. She pulls back to see if he'll chase harder. Most men do and fail again. None of this is evil. It's evolutionary. Back in ancient times, physical strength wasn't enough. Women had to survive by influencing stronger men, not through force, but through subtlety. So the ones who could read emotions, who could manipulate perception, they passed on their genes. Fast forward to today, and modern men are still walking blindly into the same ancient traps. They think they're leading the relationship, but they're being led. And the only way out isn't to hate women. It's to recognize the game being played and play it better. Schopenhauer once said something unforgettable. Those women are like grown-up children. Now, don't misunderstand that. It's not about intelligence. It's about emotional tactics. You see, when you lack physical power, you don't fight with fists. You fight with feelings. And one of the most overlooked strategies in the modern world. It is how weakness becomes a weapon. Ever notice how tears can end an argument? How does silence become a form of punishment? How is intimacy offered like a reward or withdrawn like a punishment? That's not random. That's power in disguise. These tactics are subtle but deadly. They work because men are wired to protect, to please, to avoid conflict. So what happens? A man who doesn't understand this dynamic finds himself walking on eggshells, saying yes when he means no, giving more, receiving less, trading his peace for brief moments of approval. And in time, he becomes something worse than weak. He becomes emotionally enslaved. That's the tyranny of the weak. Power gained not through strength, but through emotional leverage. And unless a man wakes up to it, he'll live under that silent rule, confused why he feels drained, yet still loyal. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that leads us to freedom. Schopenhauer didn't just criticize. He offered something deeper, a form of liberation. He said, to see the chains is the first step to freedom. And that's what this conversation is really about. Women aren't betraying you. They're not even attacking you. They're just following nature, the same way the sun rises and the tide rolls in. But most men, they live in a dream. They think love is unconditional, that if you're nice, loyal, generous, you'll be rewarded. But nature doesn't reward those things. It rewards strength, clarity, and indifference to emotional dependency. Schopenhauer's path isn't about avoiding women. It's about becoming so whole that you're no longer controlled by your desire for them. Think about that. What if you no longer needed female validation? What if you stopped chasing and women started noticing? Because here's the paradox. The moment you no longer depend on their attention is the moment they feel the urge to earn yours. Power flips. It's not about being cold or distant or manipulative. It's about building yourself into a man who chooses, not chases. Work on your body. Sharpen your mind. Pursue your purpose. Not for their approval, but for your own self-respect. Women are drawn to men who don't flinch under pressure, who don't beg for love, and who never ask for permission to exist. That's not arrogance. That's sovereignty. Schopenhauer wasn't anti-woman. He was pro-freedom, and his greatest message was this. The more you need, the less you're respected. The less you need, the more you're desired. Build yourself until you need nothing. Attracts everything. So if Schopenhauer's solution is freedom, what does that look like in real life? It's not about being heartless. It's not about hating women. It's about building yourself into a man no storm can shake. And that kind of man stands on 3 unshakable pillars. 1, financial sovereignty. Control your money. Control your fate. When you rely on others for your survival, you lose your voice. You tolerate disrespect. You trade your backbone for comfort. But when you own your income, you own your time. And that means you can walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. No begging. No pleasing, just a choice. 2. Philosophical depth. In a world drowning in shallow pleasures and groupthink, your greatest weapon is an independent mind. Read, reflect, question everything. When you develop philosophical clarity, you're no longer manipulated by trends, opinions, or emotional blackmail. You see the matrix for what it is. You stop asking, what do others want from me? And start asking, what do I stand for? As Schopenhauer warned, the safest way not be very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. Let that sink in. Happiness is not owed to you. It must be earned through mastery of self. 3. Physical command. Your body is not just skin and muscle. It's the embodiment of willpower. When you train your body, you're not just building strength. You're reminding yourself daily, I can suffer, I can endure, I can transform. The man who owns his body is hard to lie to, hard to shame, hard to break. And when you combine all three, money, mind, muscle, you become the man who doesn't need love, which is exactly why he finally deserves it. That's what I call the armor of stoicism. You're not cold, you're just no longer soft. So what's the real message here? It's simple, but it's hard. Let go of the illusion that love will complete you, that someone out there will finally make everything right. It won't happen. And deep down, you already know that. But here's the good news. You don't need to save. You need to be awakened. Because the true journey of a man, it's not about fighting women. It's about freeing yourself from emotional dependence on them. This isn't bitterness. It's clarity. It's about stepping out of fantasy and into your full power. It's about becoming so internally whole that no woman, no loss, no rejection can break your center. Schopenhauer said it best. We give up 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. Don't trade your fire for approval. Don't sell your soul for validation. And don't shrink yourself to fit in. Because here's the truth most men never hear. You don't find your worth in the eyes of a woman. You find it the moment you stop looking there. If this hit you, if something inside you just woke up, then don't just sit there. Make a decision. Are you going to keep chasing what's not meant to complete you? Or are you finally ready to build the kind of life that no one can take from you? You can keep dreaming, or you can rise. You can keep hoping, or you can become. If you felt this message, share it. Not for me, but for every man out there still asleep. Let's wake them up together.